Hi, my name's Darren Mostyn, and in this episode I want to show you one of the effects that I've been using quite a bit recently. It's been in Resolve for a little while, but I've really only just discovered the power of it, so let's go and take a look. So the open effect that I want to focus on today is called Texture Pop. I've got a clip here, I've got two clips in fact, I've got another clip here, and I've just done a basic grade on them. So this is my grade, this is my CST. I'm not using my usual node structure, I've just got a basic grade going on, and I've got an empty node on the end, which I'm going to apply Texture Pop to. So let's go to our OpenFX, and a quick way of finding it is if you just go into the search bar, you can just type in texture, and there it is right at the top, Texture Pop. Drag and drop it on, and it opens up this dialog box. Now, to make things easier for you to see, if I'm going to press Shift and F, which is going to give me a much larger view of our image so you can see what's going on, I'm going to keep my scopes open, and we just have our menu here for the particular effect that we're working with. So this is Texture Pop. So what's this doing? So Texture Pop is basically softening and sharpening, but based on frequencies. So we can actually dial in exactly which area we want to soften or sharpen. So what does that mean in real terms? When you first open it up, you'll be in this simple mode. Okay, so there's a simple and advanced mode. So let's just start off in simple. And color mode, you've got the choice of RGB or luminance and chrominance. So you can split luminance and chrominance. Let me just show you that. So there we go. So this one up here is your luminance, and this one here is your chrominance. And then the output mode will basically show you what is being affected. So we'll come to that later. So I'm going to stay in Luma Chroma mode, okay? And you can choose whether to work in just Luma or Chroma here. And we've also got this option here called Tonal Range. So let me just expand that. And let's just go and pull some of these dials around so you can see exactly what's going on. So what I have to do is give it some strength. Okay, it defaults to 0.2. Actually, I can leave it where it is. It defaults to 0.2 in strength, but nothing's happening to the image, and that's because we haven't moved this slider yet. This is still at 0. So moving it to the left will soften the image, and moving it to the right will sharpen the image. Okay, and that's affecting the whole Luma range. So let me just reset that. So you can see as I move this slider, the effect happens quite harshly. Okay, so if I just move this down a little bit, my image has gone pretty mushy already. So what I'm going to do is go down to Global Blend, and straight away I'm just going to half that. So what that's going to do is mix back this Texture Pop effect with the state it was in before we applied this effect. So i.e. the graded point we were at so far. So now when I adjust this slider, it's a little bit more sensitive, which gives us a better control over our image. So what I'm going to do is just dial in a little bit of detail. So let's go maybe 0.2, something like that. And I'm just going to increase my strength a little bit, but not too much. And you can see already how much this is affecting our image. So let me switch this on and off. I'm just pressing Command D. And there you can see that's pretty subtle, but it's really nice what's happening. We're just getting a little bit of, well, literally pop in her hair and in the gravel and everything down here and the grass over here. Let's just dial in a little bit more. And there we go. And you can see that affecting on the scopes here as well. And because we're sharpening, we're adding kind of perceived contrast as well. So in the tonal range section here, we have finer control over how much texture pop is in the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights. And also this low range and high range determines what becomes a shadow and what becomes a midtone. So by moving the shadows slider down and bringing my midtones down, we're literally only putting texture pop in the upper midtones and the highlights. So let me just switch that on and off, and you can see that in the clouds here, but it's not being affected in her jeans or her t-shirt. So what we could do with that, if I just reset this and go back to Luma Chroma, if we wanted to do a kind of black pro-mist look, what we could do here is increase the strength, soften the whole image. Let's go back to our blend, drop that back to somewhere around half. And now what we can do is take out our highlights and take out our midtones, and all we're affecting now, if I switch this on and off, you see the clouds are not affected, but we are affecting her t-shirt, her jeans, and just the tips of her hair. So that's giving us a kind of black pro-mist look. So let's reset that again, and what I wanted it to do this time is really focus on the texture of the landscape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Luma Chroma, I'm going to increase my strength, and I'm going to sharpen it up ever so slightly. Always pressing Command and D just to check where you're going. Obviously that's very strong there, so I'm going to blend it back somewhere around there, and that's looking really nice now. It's really bringing out this landscape. Let's just go a little bit further with that. And if we only wanted to affect the landscape, we could use a mask around the girl. We could even use the magic mask. In fact, let's just do that quickly. So if I press Shift and F, it takes us back to here. Let's go to our magic mask. And then we just need to invert that. And now we've got texture pop just on the landscape. And if you want to know more about how to use the magic mask, I've done a whole episode on that. Okay, so let's have a look what happens in advanced mode with the texture pop. So I'm going to go to my next clip. So this clip is test footage that's available from the Red website. This is 8K RAW, and we're going to use this clip to show you the advanced settings in texture pop. So let's just switch over using Shift F, and this gives us a better view of what's going on. And I'm going to switch over now from simple to advanced. Now what happens now is where we can do the frequency separation. So the beauty of the texture pop tool, in its simplest form, in simple mode, it's effectively mid-tone detail. It's kind of like a mid-tone detail. But in advanced mode, we can now separate out the individual frequencies to really finesse our look. So we've got our strength applied. Now obviously nothing is affected, so what we've got now is rough, coarse, medium, small, fine and tiny, and these are our frequency separators. So I'm going to switch from RGB into Luma Chroma mode, so I now get frequency separation in the luminance and frequency separation in the chroma. When these are set to 0, obviously we're not softening or sharpening. So moving to the right is going to sharpen that frequency, and moving to the left is going to soften that frequency. So this is really good for fine, accurate tuning of this skin tone, for example. So what we can do is let's add a little bit of strength in there, a little bit more. And to work out which of these is affecting what area, if I just, for example, let's just go to medium, you can see that's affecting that area. If we go to tiny, this is the very high frequencies. So you can see that's basically the pores in her skin. But to get a better idea of what's going on, what we can do is switch over this output mode into either differences or differences magnitude. So the differences magnitude one is an easier way for me to see what's being affected. But we can now go through these and have a look what's being affected on the rough frequency, on the coarse frequency, and you can see we slowly get through and we're trying to find the face. So there we go. The medium is sort of working, small is working. Now I'm going to imagine fine. There we go. So it's like the hair, it's this sort of detail here, and tiny here is hair and the pores. So what I'm going to do is reset these sliders. I'm going to increase my strength, and let's just bring in a little bit of medium. So I want to soften that. Okay, and now that I know which slider is affecting what, I can switch this back to my final result. And so we can take our medium slider there, and what I want to do, I try not to make too big a move between these. You want this to be a sort of smooth curve if you can, because otherwise you're going to exaggerate frequencies. I'm just going to bring up my fine and tiny, and what I'm doing here is trying to add back the pores. Okay, so if I just switch that off, on and off, so this is the whole effect off, the effect back on, you can see that we're smoothing the skin, but we're bringing the pores back in to make it look more natural. So if we just smooth off skin tone, it can start looking a little bit plasticky like that. So this allows us to bring back the actual pores to make it look more realistic. And what I can also do is use my blend tool as I was doing previously. So I'm going to blend this right back now, a sort of good half mix. And that is giving us a really subtle smoothing off of her skin tone. So it's really nice, but we're keeping all this detail in the hair, all the detail in the eyebrows. And what we could even do now is go to our tonal range, and if we knock down the shadows, we realize that then the shadows are not being affected at all, which means that we don't get any softening appearing in the shadows. So I'm really enjoying using texture pop. It makes landscapes look great. It's great on skin tone, and just having that frequency separation just takes it the next level up from mid-tone detail for me. So I hope that gave you a better understanding of how that effect works. This has been quite requested, so if you want to see more of these, let me know in the comments. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next episode.